This is the Vivo V30, a mid-ranger that punches above its weight class. What sorts of features can you find here, and could this be your next mid-range phone? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Vivo V30 review. The Vivo V30 is a camera-oriented mid-ranger which brings a sleek aesthetic and some enticing features. These include a premium display, a large battery, fast charging, and a capable chipset. The V30 sports a thin and lightweight body, curved on the front and the back. The back is made of tempered glass, and we enjoy the flowing texture on this glossy aqua colorway. The frame of the phone is plastic, thin and glossy, and doesn't lend a ton of grip here. And worth mentioning is the camera setup, which is made of two squares. The top square houses the cameras themselves, and the bottom one is an LED flash with an aura fill light that can glow in different colors. There is ingress protection on this phone, rated at IP54 against dust and heavy splashes. The display of the V30 is a 6.78-inch OLED with a 1260p resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. The screen itself is not curved, just the protective glass on top. The display looks great. It's contrasty and sharp at 453 ppi. Plus, it has support for 10-bit color depth and HDR10+ video. It's plenty bright too. We measured up to over 500 nits maximum with the manual slider, and this can boost to over 1200 nits in auto mode when needed in bright conditions. The refresh rate is adaptive. It can go from a smooth 120Hz when you're swiping and scrolling to 60Hz while idling to save energy. One of the shortcomings of the Vivo V30 is the audio setup. There's only a single speaker, while these days most phones have stereo speakers. The loudness is good, but the sound quality is average, with okay vocals and almost no bass.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare.
For biometrics, the Vivo V30 has an under-display fingerprint reader and is fast and reliable. And the phone can come with 128, 256, or 512 gigs of storage, which isn't expandable through microSD. The V30 runs Vivo's own Funtouch OS 14 on top of Android 14. It's a heavily customized UI with plenty of features. You get a bunch of options to customize the looks and animations of the interface. And holding the volume key when the screen is off can be used as a shortcut to launch an app or do a certain task. Vivo didn't come out and say how much support it will provide, but if the V30 Pro model is anything to go by, the V30 should get 2 major OS updates and 3 years of security patches. Under the hood of the V30 is a Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 chipset. It's a modern and efficient mid-range chip. In the Snapdragon 7 family, the performance here is in between the Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 and the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2. In benchmarks, the scores are competitive and good for the class. You wouldn't be disappointed here. The phone runs smoothly, and there's enough power for some gaming too. The sustained performance is excellent as well. In our prolonged stress test, we observed hardly any thermal throttling. Battery life, though, is where this phone really shines. The Vivo V30 has a 5000 mAh battery and passed our test with flying colors, earning an outstanding active use score of 15 hours and 32 minutes. That's among the best out there. The phone supports 80-watt charging, and the proper adapter comes in the box. With it, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 74% in half an hour, and a full charge took 42 minutes. The camera setup of the V30 includes a 50-megapixel main cam and a 50-megapixel ultrawide which has autofocus. Some markets get an additional depth sensor as well. During the day, the main camera produces photos that are colorful, sharp, and somewhat clean. The fine detail level is good, as is the dynamic range. Still, we would have preferred a slightly brighter exposure in some scenarios. 2x digital zoom is just okay. The photos come out a bit soft, and sometimes the noise reduction smears some of the detail. In low light conditions, the system prefers to use the automatic night mode, and the results from the main cam are good. The photos are clean and balanced, with punchy colors and lots of detail. Shadows retain enough detail, and highlights and light sources are well preserved. 4K video from the main cam is pretty solid. We like the contrast, sharpness, detail, and vibrant colors. We're also impressed by the overall rendering despite the cloudy weather. There's quite a bit of detail even in the shadows, without blowing up the highlights. The standard 4K footage is stabilized by default. Here's a look at the stabilization quality. At night, the main camera produces decent enough videos. They're a little soft and noisy, but the dynamic range is okay, the contrast is good, and there's plenty of detail. Now let's talk about the ultrawide camera. These photos are considerably better than those from most competitors, which have an 8-megapixel ultrawide. These are vibrant, sharp, and surprisingly detailed. Dynamic range is good, though in high contrast or indoor scenes, you may notice some dark shadows or clipped highlights. In low light, the ultrawide again does a good job. The nighttime photos are clean, sharp, and detailed, and have decent dynamic range. You will notice the occasional clipped highlights or soft patches here, but the overall quality is quite impressive for the class. Where the ultrawide falls short though is video recording. For some reason it's limited to 1080p resolution. Selfies come from a 50-megapixel front-facing cam with autofocus. The quality is impressive. You get detailed and sharp photos with realistic colors and natural skin tones. Dynamic range is also good. So that's the Vivo V30. It brings outstanding battery life, a bright OLED display, and great camera performance for the class. The main shortcoming is that it has a single speaker, rather than stereo speakers. The V30 is also a bit more expensive than popular competitors. If those things don't bother you, then the Vivo V30 is a unique and well-rounded mid-ranger, which is worth recommending.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you're looking for alternatives to the V30, you can check out our reviews of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus and the OnePlus Nord 3. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.